Hi, everyone. My name is Irish, and I wanted to reach out to a lot of ladies that have tapped my shoulder and asked for words of wisdom from my own personal experiences as a widow. Um, my husband passed away in 2011 while I was on maternity leave with our son. This was a some would suggest sudden. It wasn't anything thing that my family and I had prepared for. And let me first say that this is not a video based on feelings or emotions or anything like that. It's strictly the truth, the facts, the things that I actually have experienced. And the one thing that I have stated throughout this entire process, which has been 7 years now, is that I hope that it helps someone else. With anything, you make a lot of good decisions and those that are not so good. And then, of course, you make those super fabulous ones. And on this journey, it takes patience. It takes understanding yourself, redefining who you are, because you set a foundation with someone, and together you put together this story that you wanted to last forever. At least we did. So, with that being said, I just wanted to reach out and just give out. This is my first video, so any suggestions would be great. And once again, this is a story to help those that can or need the immediate, like, hey, this just happened, or I'm feeling like this. When does it go away? Where did it come from? So, with that being said, one of the things that I am particularly tapped on the shoulder by widows that do not have 7 years and some even more, they say, oh my goodness, you seem like you have it going on. What are you doing? And the first thing I always say is, it didn't always look like this. As I mentioned, my husband Chris passed away suddenly. I was 32 weeks pregnant with my son. They could not, the physicians, it was such a shock. The physicians couldn't keep my blood pressure down. So now I was kind of thrust into a position where my son had to be delivered early. So now I'm leaving the hospital without my husband and without my son, who was placed in a NICU in a fantastic, super fantastic hospital here in Atlanta. And I went home to our 3 children. At that time, our eldest was 14, our daughter was 9, and our youngest son at home at that time was 3. And it still did not seem real. So when I got a chance to see the children when they visit with me, and all I could think of was it didn't seem real. But I knew, because I had family around me, was saying, you have to tell them. So I did. And I'm going to tell you this. So for any of you widows or widowers, because I don't want to leave out the men, because these feelings, even though they may have, sometimes cultural differences and, sexual disposition differences, but at the same time, they're relevant and they're real. And I would say I felt so foggy. The only way I could to describe was like foggy brained. And let me first say that I am a left brain type of person. I plan everything. I love and I thrive in situations, at least prior to my husband passing away, where I knew the predicted outcome. So with that being said, when I told my children, we stared at each other, I remember. And nobody cried. It was like shock. And I was totally unaware that they were able to verbalize what they were feeling because I was still trying to figure this out myself. Hence, I bring my husband to the hospital. You come back and tell me he's deceased. This doesn't add up in my mind at that time. And I can truly say that I came up with every scenario. I mean, literally. It may sound a little, I don't know, psychological, but at that time I was like, well, maybe, he's like in a secret service somewhere because it just did not add up. So I created multiple, in my mind, outcomes that my husband was going to come home some way. He was going to contact me. And at the same time, people were telling me like, hey, you got to prepare to bury your husband. I was like, I don't want to do that. I remember sitting at the table at the funeral home with my in-laws, and my sister was with me, and the funeral director asked me, well, we're going to go ahead and, make arrangements to bring some additional chairs, tables, and everything to your home. And I was like, no, you're not doing that. Now, everybody at the table was like, they're confused. You should have stopped me. My goodness, the look on their face. And I was like, no, we're not doing that. I don't want anybody at my house. I just did not want to acknowledge that my husband was deceased. Because remember now, I had multiple outcomes. And my husband's grandmother said to me, she was like, Nicole, don't do this. At least try. Have a few tables and additional chairs to come by for people to come by and offer their condolences. And grant you, I hadn't cried since the doctors and at the hospital when the doctors came with the chaplain to tell my husband was deceased. And when I remember when his grandmother told me that, it was as if she was saying, Nicole, it's done, and I didn't do a boo-hoo cry. It was like these really heavy and very warm tears was just drooping from my eyes. I mean, they were coming and I was like trying to wipe them away. Like I just couldn't get them to stop. But I had to push forward. So in my mind, I'll just play the game that everybody wants me to play. All right, we'll do the casket thing. We'll do this. But still in my mind, I still was holding on. Like, hey, I think one time I even thought that, maybe he's, he had solved some type of crime or something like just craziness, and he was in the Secret Service and they're going to come get us and the family, and we'll be reunited and all that good stuff. Eventually, I had to come to grips with that was not going to happen. So if you have these moments where you feel like, hey, I feel like I'm losing my mind, I get it, because I was. And what helped me just in that moment, because I'm just going to kind of segment this and just talk about how I was able to accept, manage, and move beyond the acceptance of my husband's transition into death. And with that being said, I had to sit down with myself, and I remember praying. I was like, dear God, this can't be real. Why would you do this? I have sons to raise. I don't know anything about raising a son other than love them, and a black son at that, all I know how to do is love them. I remember telling him, and I just felt like it wasn't fair. And I didn't get an answer right then. And The long weeks, months went by. After a while, once all the dust settles, now I will tell you this, you're still kind of foggy brain. And for me, foggy brain means like your hair is as if everything is going on, you're functioning, but you're kind of like in subconscious mind mode. You just doing your body, you're not there, but your subconscious, like, I got this. You used to cooking, you used to going to work, you used to picking the kids up. This is what you do. But it was very empty. I wasn't there. I wasn't in the moment. And I want you to hold on to that, because of me not being in that moment, I missed a lot of things where it was very important to our children and in their grieving process. So in the next video, I want to address that. But what I will tell you this, like I said, every day and every week, it got better. I don't get into telling people how long it takes to get over the grieving process, because that doesn't exist. But you do get beyond the heartache, the anger. And when the way you do that, you have to incorporate, if you're a religious individual, your religion. You have to talk to someone. Pressure will bust a galvanized pipe. It will just wreak havoc, kill a human being. So get that pressure. When I mean by pressure, that anxiety, fear, or frustration, or anger out. And the way you do it in a healthy way, is to talk to someone, a professional even. Sometimes you may have to go beyond your pastor. And also get grief support for your children. Because like I said, it was foggy brain for me. I was still in the back of my mind thinking, my husband, somebody's going to come. These white guys going to pull up, and it's like black, what do you call those, Crown Vics, tinted windows. Like, hey, we have your husband. We want your whole family. I was so there, right? Because it granted me an out that did not exist. So with that being said, my widows and widowers, what you're feeling right now will become tomorrow. And what you're feeling tomorrow will become the next day. And it goes on and on. And I hope that gives you a good analogy that you will push through it. And it gets better. And better is defined by you, the way I defined it. And you have to be intentional on being happy and bringing joy back into your heart, back into your home. Because especially for those of us who have children, if you're happy and you have joy, it brings healing to them, because they're going to pull from your energy. So you have to be intentional on this. So I say that, and I look forward to going forward with this. I really can't believe I'm actually doing this, and I just thank God, our Creator, and the universe, for pushing me to do this. And I pray that this will help in anyway. Once again, my name is Irish, and I guess you would say as told by a widow. My eldest daughter now is a senior in college, so this has been on my heart for a very long time. So thanks, baby girl. I did it. And to all my widows and widowers, it gets better, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. And thanks for listening.